Welcome back to City Foodie Farm. We are busy in the kitchen preserving our harvest. And today we are trying to preserve our basil before it gets too cold. Basil does not do good in cold weather. I love basil. It's so useful. We use it in pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, so many dishes. And that's my favorite part of summer is having basil in the garden. So when winter comes, if we want to use it, usually we have to buy it in the store. But this winter, I am going to try to get ahead of this and preserve some in oil and keep it in the freezer so we can continue to cook with basil. And if you have basil left in the garden, at this point, the end of summer, it doesn't taste the same, but it's still basil. So you'll want to cut off as much as you want to harvest. We actually grew 3 plants in our garden this year. And so for this, I actually just cut 1 plant out completely. And all you need to do is pluck off all of the leaves. And what you can do after you're done plucking all of the leaves, you can save whatever basil blooms or blossoms to save the seeds. Once they dry out, you will be able to harvest those seeds. The basil flowers is what I was talking about. And then after all of the leaves have been removed, you'll want to wash them. And if you have a salad spinner to get off the excess water, that would be the best option. I know basil leaves can be very delicate. I washed mine in cold water. Washed them a couple times because I didn't want any bugs in there. But after you're done washing it, put it in your salad spinner and spin it several times and make sure all of the water's out. And if you don't have a salad spinner, it's okay. You can just use a towel. And I kind of pick through my leaves to remove any icky ones before I started chopping them. And here's the ice cube tray that we will be using for today. I believe it's made out of silicone. It's flexible, which I think really helps with this. I got it as a gift years ago. And I don't think I've ever used it for preserving, but I know it is intended for that reason, for preserving herbs. So you will need an ice cube tray like that and some olive oil. That is how we are going to be preserving our basil. And you'll want to chop up your basil into little pieces. And again, removing any icky leaves or stems, anything like that. And after you've chopped your basil, you can start measuring it and adding it to the ice cube tray. And for these trays, I just used 1 tablespoon per ice cube or per square. And just continue that until each spot is filled. And if you need more basil, just chop some more. And that's it. All of our squares have been filled. And now is the fun part. So grab your olive oil and just fill it up to the top. You will need a lot of olive oil for this. But think of it this way. When you're cooking in the winter, you can grab one of these little blocks of olive oil with basil when you're planning to cook. When you're cooking some pasta sauce or some pizza sauce, whatever you're cooking that involves olive oil and basil. This will taste amazing in the winter. And keep watching. I actually will show you what it looks like when you melt this in your pan. And keep filling it up, and you might want to use a knife or fork or something to kind of move it around, make sure there's no air bubbles or anything like that. Make sure it's completely submerged in olive oil. And if you end up overfilling it, no problem. Just move some of the olive oil to the next spot. And just so you know, I am not an expert at this, but I did experiment before sharing this with you. And the best part of this tray here, it comes with a lid. It's so nice to be able to cover this. And now you can place this in the freezer. And another thing that I tried, because I had extra basil, I added basil to a plastic bag and poured in some olive oil. That way when it's frozen, I can actually just break off little chunks and throw it in my pan. So if you don't have an ice cube tray, you could always try this. Are you curious what this looks like or what it's like to cook with? This is several days later when I opened up the lid. And now I can pop out each little block of olive oil and basil and place it in a Ziploc bag and store in the freezer so I can cook with it in the winter. It looks really pretty, doesn't it? And once you've gotten everything out and placed in your Ziploc bag, you can store them in the freezer. And they should last all winter. And here's a look at those little bags that I preserved as well. They will be really nice to just break off a little piece if needed. But what I did is I just stored all of the baggies in a bigger plastic bag. And now I want to show you what it looks like to cook with these. I was making some ravioli with some of our garden tomatoes, and I wanted to try these out. So I believe I used just one block for the sauce, and I have to say it was kind of nice. I kind of felt like I was cooking with butter, but it really smelled good with the basil. And after my block here dissolved, for the sauce I added in some garlic and more olive oil, because in any marinara that I make, at least, olive oil is very important. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you can preserve your own basil this year. I know I will be making this again. I actually have 2 more plants I would love to preserve. Hopefully I can get to it before it gets too cold. Thanks again. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Thanks so much.